Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first Quantum Investors Day. We hope that you enjoy the event. We are going to have a very exciting panel and then a lot of different pitches from different quantum companies around the world. So I just wanted to check that everything is fine. And I'm going to share my screen. Okay, let's wait just some seconds while people join. Okay, so this is the program for today. We are going to start with a little introduction by myself and Patrick Kearney, who is here with me and is the co-organizer for the event. I'm going to present to you what we do at QURECA, and he will tell you a little bit more about tec-connection, and then some housekeeping about how the event is going to work. Then we're going to have our panel discussion. It's going to be around 1 hour, and we have people from different countries and different background. I think it's going to be quite interesting to see what they have to share with you. We're going to have the overview about what is happening in UK, in Europe, and also the point of view of the investors, because this is really the key of today. Learn what investors are looking for when they are thinking about investing in quantum technologies, and you can have this as an occasion to ask anything you want to all of them. So then we have two different pitches session. We have one in the morning in UK for 4 different companies are going to pitch, and Patrick is going to be the moderator for the first session. Then we have a break, but please don't leave after the break. The networking is going to be open the whole time. So please take the chance during the lunch break to go into the networking session. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how these work, but it's just a button on the left-hand side of your when you enter into the event, and you can network with other people. Please take the chance to network, because it's what we cannot do normally in this new life that we are all in virtual and we cannot really talk to people randomly. Take the occasion to do that today. Then we have another pitch session after the break with 4 more companies. Then we have 1 hour where this the networking session is going to be open if you want to continue talking to people. So that's it for the program. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit more what we are doing at QURECA. So I'm the founder of QURECA Quantum Resources and Careers, and everything started because I moved from industry into academia, and I realized how different the mindset were. But if you think about emerging technologies, and in this case, quantum technologies, people started to talk about creating a new market and created a new business, but most of the people were academics. So there was a clear gap in between trying to move from this fundamental science to a new business, a new industry. And also it's about the governments, and you will see about that today in the panel discussion. Governments and funding agencies, they need to have a clear understanding what we mean with this new technology. And when we talk about quantum technologies, well, we are talking about quantum mechanics, and quantum is a fancy word, it's a nerdy word, sometimes scary, because people think that you will have to learn a lot of mathematics to be able to understand how the technology works. And putting all this together, if you think also about the general public, when they read in the media what quantum technologies is going to do, what quantum computing is going to discover in the next years, we need to be realistic about what all this means. And this is how I came up with the idea to try to bring the community together, to bridge those gaps within the ecosystem. And that's how QURECA was born. And at the end, we still want what we decided some time ago. We want to create a common language. We want everyone to be ready for quantum, being individuals, being somebody in the funding agency, in the government, or industry, or the end users. Everybody needs to be ready for quantum when quantum comes. We want to create value, we want to create impact, and we want to create a business. So we offer different services within QURECA. And when we talk about professional services, we work with both quantum companies that are just starting, startups, and we also work with quantum companies that are more solid, that are consolidated in the market, and also end users. So we work with quantum startups on business development, how they can grow the business, how they can gain visibility, how they can reach out to customers or investors. For example, today, this is one of the key questions: is how can I show what we are doing? How can I reach out to investors that normally you don't know where they are? Then on business intelligence, it's more about consolidated companies, about end users. How can they build a strategy? Is it the time to think about quantum for you now? You need to wait. How do you build this strategy? And how do you build your resources to be part of this new ecosystem? And that's how we really focus then on skills. The resources is about competencies, about having the people with the right skills. And that's why we have created our platform for training and resourcing. The way this works, we want to upscale people. We provide different kind of training services, from an online training platform to specific tailored packages for companies. We train individuals, we train companies, and then for individuals who are looking for a job in quantum companies, we place them. So this is really how this works, is upskilling people to have ready the quantum workforce for now, for the different positions that are open around the world in quantum companies. So our unique selling proposition is not only the network that has been built over the years and having this global connection about what is happening around the world, is also the expertise. We need to understand the technology, we need to understand the science, but we also need to understand how business works. Again, we work with individuals, providing different kind of resources. We develop their skills, providing training, and then what we want is really to place them into their dream job. So we need to understand what the best career path for an individual could be. And for employers, we work with companies, providing different kind of professional support, training, and hiring services. So at the end, what we want is to develop quantum leaders around the world. A little bit more about the different resources that we provide. On the education side, we, as I said, we are having different online courses that we are creating at the moment. We are going to launch 2 online courses before the end of the year, and then we hope that every 2 months or so there will be a new online course. These online courses are not from an academic point of view. These are really developed by expertise in companies. They are going to share with you how they see how the application of quantum technologies is going to be for a specific sector and what you need if you want to go in that direction for your career. Again, we provide different tailored packages for companies, and we organize webinars, workshops, and different kind of events as the one today. On the recruitment side, we provide recruitment as a service, but we also organize events focusing on careers and tutorials in different conferences around the world. And we had our first career event 2 weeks ago, and it was a success. More than 400 people registered, and people want more. That was focused on UK companies, but I can tell you that our next event will probably be in January, February, and it will be European or maybe global already. And on the information side, we have a blog, we have educational resources. We're trying to put more and more information there, and we want to link to all the people, all the websites, and all the kind of resources. It's not like we want to create everything. We know that people are creating information, and we want to share that information with you. And we want to create community. As I said before, it's really about this common language. So we want to create communities based on end users, on technology, on regions. And also, as today, we want to link the community of investors with quantum companies. And a lot of people say, how can I reach out to what is happening around the world? Where are the information about quantum events? You have 2 options. You can just go to our website and you will see our calendar of events, the ones organized by QURECA. And also you have a link with the most recent event that is coming up. But you can also go to a full calendar of quantum events around the world. If you register in our website, it's free. And then you can download the calendar, you can check out what it is, and you can go directly and register to the events. Everything is virtual now, so take the chance to learn about quantum every day. So that's everything from my side. I invite now Patrick to give a little overview of what is happening in tec-connection.
All right, thank you, Araceli. So yeah, just from my side, tec-connection is an organisation that helps connect technology and scientific teams to access funding, mainly EU and Horizon 2020, where we have a strong track record. In the quantum area, we've been working with a technical university in Switzerland, which has expertise in control electronics and quantum systems. So my own background is with the life science tools industry, mainly with the pharma industry, which has always been interested in the latest science and tools for studying the tiniest phenomena within the cell at the molecule and photon level. And for this work, advances in quantum sensing as well as quantum computing will likely make important contributions. I was personally lucky enough to be at the very first UK quantum showcase way back in 2015, and then more recently at the Swiss industry events. We'll hear a bit more about that shortly. So I see we've come a long way in a very short time, but there's still more to be done to bring different participants together in the value chain. In fact, we started discussions on this event about a year ago. There really seems to be an appetite or a gap for this, the startups and the funders and understanding. So we knew this event today, combine the common connections that we have in the business angel community, the funding community, and the startup community. So I'm excited to be bringing you this first industry investor day today, and I hope it will be the first of many.
Perfect. Thanks, Patrick. So just before we go to our panel session, some housekeeping rules. So about the pitches, each company will have exactly 15 minutes slot for their pitch and the questions and answer session. So please try to have your pitch under 10 minutes. We will kind of tell you when the 10 minutes pass, and then you should wrap up and finish, because we want that you have time for questions, because that's really the important thing today. It's the chance for investors to ask the companies key questions to understand what the technology is all about. And then about the speed networking, again, once you go, you are now on the stage, but if you go to the left-hand side panel, you will see networking. There you have the chance to randomly network with any other person in the audience. You have a time limit of 5 minutes. You can, of course, follow up the conversation. You can connect with the person. If you click on the connect button, then you will find the connection details of that person into your Hopin profile. So you have the chance as well to put your LinkedIn link there or anything to be sure that you talk to each other and you can link afterwards. So again, it's the chance for you to link with other people, to network, and to know what is happening around the world in quantum technologies. So we hope that you enjoy the event. We're going to start with our panel session. We want to hear about what is happening in UK, what is happening in Switzerland. As Patrick said, that was at the beginning the idea. We wanted to link the communities between UK and Switzerland. But again, quantum is global, it's a global community, and we cannot say no if people from all over the world want to join this event. So that's why we have opened it, and it's now global. And we are going to continue doing these kind of events in the future, because I think it's the only way to know really what is happening around the world, and the chance to network and to know more about the ecosystem. Again, we hope you join the event. I'm going to invite now our panel session. So we have Francesco from Euresearch.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Francesco. We have Najwa from KTN, Knowledge Transfer Network in the UK.
Hello, everyone.
Perfect. And I guess Olivier will join in the next minute. So if everything is okay, let's... Olivier is there. Hi, Olivier.
Hi.
Olivier from Quantonation. So let's start the panel with some presentations. And Francesco, if you would mind to start sharing your slides.
Yeah, I will. We need to somehow, I'm not allowed to share the slides.
Yeah, wait a minute, 1 second. Everything will be fine. Yeah, we have one person of the team as administrator, and she has to leave in order that you can share the slides. Okay.
Should work now?
Yeah.
I'm still disabled on my side. Maybe if Najwa can start, if she can share the slides, I suggest we start with Najwa, and then I will take over after her. Somehow I cannot share my slides.
I actually cannot share my slides either. So
okay, maybe the system thinks that we are too many. If you wouldn't mind, Patrick, I moderate this session, and then you can join afterwards for the pitch. Yeah, now it should work.
Seems
okay,
yeah,
good.
it's okay now.
Perfect.
Good. You should see my slides in a few.
Perfect.
You should see
Thanks,
the first slide
Francesca.
now. Okay. Good. So thank you very much for having me here. Actually, it's an honor to share the panel with UK and with France, or with investors from France, two important countries from the Swiss perspective. I will give you a short overview on what's going on in Switzerland. So you might know Switzerland for it's chocolate, for the mountains, for the banks, or for Heidi, but actually Switzerland is doing quite well in terms of innovation. So if you look, for example, this innovation scoreboard of the EU, European Union, Switzerland is doing quite well in terms of innovation, and I hope by the end of my pitch that you will have also innovation when you think about Switzerland. So what's going on in Switzerland, in particular in the area of quantum, and I took this picture, quite crowded picture, but still this is a nice overview of who is who in Switzerland in terms of when it comes to quantum. And quantum is still a very early stage. So, and the first important players in there are, of course, the academic institution. And in particular for quantum, we have one well-known institution in Switzerland, which is the ETH Zurich, and they have a very, very strong network. So very strong groups and a large number of professors active in quantum. Then you have other institutions related to education, and which are in particular two of them. One is University of Geneva, which is well known when it comes to quantum cryptography and quantum key distributions. And then another university which is emerging in the last year, which is the University of Basel, which is very good when it comes to quantum sensing and quantum computing. Now, to build up an ecosystem in Switzerland, you need or an ecosystem in general. So you have, of course, other institutions for the education, like EPFL, which is very good in photonics, and the University of on the Italian part of Switzerland, which is also very good when it comes to electronics. Now, other kind of institution are the PSI, so which is the Paul Scherrer Institute. They don't do education, but they do have. They are working with particle physics, and particle physicists are basically using daily quantum technologies, and they do have now also groups specialized in quantum technology, and also to tech transfer out of PSI to companies related to quantum technologies, and they do offer also infrastructure very relevant for quantum technologies. So these are the education part, and Patrick shortly mentioned before, but there are also the University of Applied Science, which are not on this overview, but they do play also an important role because they are very close to the industry and the industry ecosystem. Now, besides education, it is what we had so far. Now we start seeing things transitioning, and one important player is the Swiss Center for Electronics and Microtechnik in Neuchâtel, which are very active when it comes to quantum computing and quantum sensing in Switzerland. In particular, they are leading one of the 10 million project in the frame of the European quantum flagship, and they are very good at tech transfer toward the industry. But of course, at the end of the day, it's all about private sector, and in the private sector, there is one big player which is not a pure industrial player, but a very strong player in research and innovation, and this is IBM Research, close to Zurich in Rüschlikon. And then you have two big players which are really actually, let's put it, old startups, which are Zurich Instrument, which do not come specifically from quantum computing, from quantum itself, but their devices turned out now their business in quantum, providing devices for quantum computing is increasing massively. And ID Quantique in Geneva, related to the University of Geneva, is of course now providing devices for quantum safe networks. And then you have the new generation. So the new, young, very dynamic generation, which are a bunch of companies in photonics like Micro R Systems or Ligentech in Lausanne, related to EPFL. And we have also other companies like Qunami in sensing related to Basel and so forth and so on. So you see, to build up the ecosystem, you need a broad range of actors moving from excellent academics to very early startups, and infrastructure for with PSI, for example. You can plot it that in a geographical manner. So again, you will see the hotspot in Zurich, the hotspot in Geneva. I just plot here only the companies and the startups. AegiQ. By the way, note also that close to Geneva you have another company which is related to quantum, which is this Photon company, which is using quantum phenomena for image processing, but people relate Geneva more to AegiQ than to Photon so far. And then, of course, Basel with Qunami, which is a spin-off of the group of research of Patrick Maletinsky, and more recently, the Basel Precision Instrument, which is also kind of Zurich instrument made in Basel, if you want. But beyond that, and then Lausanne with the photonics people related to the group of Tobias Kippenberg. Now, beyond that, there are, of course, that doesn't pop up like that. So you have two massive initiatives on the Swiss side to feed the quantum community with funding, and these are the QCIT, so the so-called national competence centers and these are one on quantum technology. So QCIT is a long and has been very instrumental in building up this community. And last year, a new one, SPIN, just was launched led by University of Basel and also co-led by IBM. So where IBM Research in Housekeeping also plays an important role. And this SPIN program with a 17 million from 2020 to 2023 will concentrate on silicon-based qubits, and this we expect a lot of spillover from that activity. Of course, in such an ecosystem, then you have at some point the government. In Switzerland is the InnoSwiss, so Swiss Innovation Agency, which has a lot of tools to make the transfer towards the industry and toward the startups ecosystem. I will not spend more time about Switzerland. If you want to know more what's going on, there is one event we do every year, which is the Quantum Industry Day. And if you can browse on the 2020 edition, so you could go to Quantum Industry Day, so qdis.ch, and then you can browse, you can look up the participants, filtering by country and by if they are academics or industry. And there you find more or less all the who is who in Switzerland. And it was a pleasure to have a big community also coming from Germany and from UK, being the second big participant on the international scale. And as Rafael said before, it's a very international community. So we had really people from all over the world attending the event. And by the way, we are now putting today, I switched on the videos, so the recording of the webinars. So we will start feeding the website with videos of all the sessions we had that one this year, and next year the event will come again in September or October, most probably. I've been asked also to say a few words on the big initiative in Europe, so which is this European flagship on quantum technologies. So the so-called FET flagship, so quantum flagship. Basically, this initiative has been spending 130 million over the last 3 years, and the aim is to spend another 300 to 400 millions in the coming years, in particular on the quantum flagship initiative at the European level. So this is a scale up at the European level on what it's going. So you have in the second row here, you have the quantum flagship, but there are a number of other activities going on parallel to that, in particular the QuantEra program, which is an important program. And now they're really moving more and more in what they call digital Europe and the implementation part, which is the deployment part with the quantum communication infrastructure and the quantum computing infrastructure. So we see the first spillover in very practical implementation in network as well as in high performance computing area. So just so keep an eye on that activity, because this is going to be very important and instrumental and structural for Europe in the coming decade. And with that, I'm done with my part. I am Francesco Kinsley, working at Euresearch. We have a non-profit organization serving the Swiss ecosystem when it comes to European projects. So if you have questions concerning the Swiss, don't hesitate to come to me. And this is the website of our organization covering all Switzerland. And with that, I am done. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Francesco. Actually, you were right. There were some companies and some initiatives that I didn't know about. So it's what you said. It's like a lot of people know about, I guess, the big ones, but there's a lot going on in Switzerland that probably many people don't even hear. And yeah, very interesting. Thanks a lot. Okay, is there any question for Francesco at the moment? I'm just going to see in the chat. Again, if you have any question, just use the stage chat on your right-hand side. Okay, we have plenty of time for questions later. Thanks, Francesco.
I see John from Micro Air. Hi, John. It's nice to see you here.
Perfect. Good. Then I invite Najwa, our next speaker for this panel session. And she's going to tell us everything about what is going on in UK, the first country who launched a quantum initiative at the national level. But she has been working on, again, this global picture, what is going on around the world and in Europe. So looking forward to your talk, Najwa. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Araceli, for inviting me to this event. It's really a pleasure to see what's happening both at the UK level, but also at the international level and the Swiss level. So yeah, I agree with you. This is very important to be able to build a community, and I applaud QURECA role into training the right skills for quantum technologies and for quantum companies, and matching the right skills with the right companies, and then technology developers with the right investors. And it's good to hear from Francesco as well on what's going on the Swiss landscape for quantum technology. So I prepared a presentation, and I always have trouble sharing my screen, but hopefully not this time. Wonder if it shared it yet.
Not yet.
Okay, just open the presentation.
Try sharing the whole screen. The
Your
first
entire
option.
screen, yes.
Yep.
And then I click share, but nothing is happening. Okay, let me try again.
Okay.
Share.
Perfect.
Okay, can you see my presentation now?
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay,
Thanks.
good. So I'm Najwa Sidki, and I'm a knowledge transfer manager in quantum technologies at KTN. So before joining KTN, and it's been a year now at KTN, I received my PhD in quantum photonics, worked in Helia Photonics, which is a company based in Scotland, precisely in Livingston, and I was a Marie Curie early stage researcher, part of an ITN called Spin Nano. And as you've seen from Francesco's presentation, ETH and University of Basel are quite prominent academic players in quantum in Switzerland, and they were part actually of this ITN. So I'm actually part of Quantum Technology Innovation Network at KTN, and our mission is to raise awareness about quantum technologies and their applications for end user sectors. And we do actually connect diverse stakeholders in the community, whether it's academia, industry, policymakers, public funding bodies, etc. So we do hold regular networking webinars around quantum and their applications. As you've seen, perhaps last week, we have delivered the UK National Quantum Showcase, and we do support public funding calls. We help companies access to finance and funding opportunities. I was also responsible of mapping the capabilities, the businesses, and also the research groups across the UK and also across Europe as part of my role in industry engagement within the Quantera project. So I'll tell you a bit more about the quantum capabilities in the UK landscape. And we do also hold and we promote diversity and inclusion in quantum technologies, particularly as part of our 5-year strategy and commitment to EDI. So if you have attended the UK National Quantum Showcase, you may have heard my presentation during the plenary session, and we did launch the UK Quantum Landscape map, which is a directory of businesses, of research centers, national centers. I'll speak about them in a few minutes, also on postgraduate training centers. And it's important to have that whole picture eventually to identify new opportunities, but also for the community to be able to identify quick contacts from either industry or academia in quantum. So in the directory section of the map, we have gathered a directory of around 200 businesses. So from supply chain, so that includes, for example, the photonics supply chain, the pumping and cryogenics supply chain, the material supply chain, but also technology providers or quantum technology developers in the UK, some of the end user companies, consultancies, innovation support, etc. And we categorize them by sort of main interests. So you have companies, for example, from AI, aerospace, automotive, battery imaging. So there is a long list of what are the interests of these companies, but also on their capabilities. So we also mapped the public funding landscape, and you can access the actual UKRI funded projects in quantum technology. So there are over 1,000 funded, currently active funded projects that you can search by either funding organization such as EPSRC, Innovate UK, but also the other research councils. You can search on lead organization. You can search by geographical location. So you see, for example, in Scotland, there is over 165 million worth of public funding, active public funding in quantum technologies. And you can have information on the amount of the award, the title of the grant, and further information on Gateway Research website of UKRI currently funded projects in quantum. So I did actually gather a list of about 160 research groups in the UK. For Quantera, it was over 780 research groups across Europe. So you can search by institution or you can search by research group name, and then you can have a link to their website so you can have a quick contact on these research groups that are active in quantum or developing quantum science and technology. And for national centers, as you may know, the UK National Quantum Programme has 4 main quantum hubs, so one for imaging, one from computing, one for communication, and one for sensing and metrology. And we added to that the Quantum Metrology Institute of the National Physical Laboratory as a big developer and partner in the UK National Quantum Programme, but also the UK National Quantum Computing Centre, which is still under construction, but will be delivered by hopefully February 2023. So you have a list of the application. So this is just a slide. If you go on the landscape map, it's interactive, so you can search on a specific national center. You will have their application, the capabilities, in terms of technology that they have developed, their research topics, but also who are their academic and industrial partners. And finally, on the landscape map, you have access to the training centers in quantum in the UK. So there are over 30 training centers, postgraduate training centers, including centers for doctoral trainings, doctoral training programs or DTPs, and training and skills hubs. So you can navigate by geographical location, by university, by partner, or also by research topic. So that's me for the UK quantum landscape. If you want to explore the map, you can go on this website. So it's openly accessible for everyone. And you can also check our activity with the Quantum Technology Innovation Network, or get in touch with me at my email address. And that's me. And thank you so much for your attention.
Thanks very much, Nacho. That's a fantastic job that you did there. I actually didn't see this in the showcase. I think it's really a fantastic overview of what is going on. So we can access this directly on the website, all the information?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Wow. It's all free, open to everyone.
Really cool. Amazing. Thanks. Perfect. And now let's hear from the investing side, on the other side of the equation. Olivier. Welcome.
Hi there. So let me try to share my screen.
Mm-hmm. Again, to the audience, if you have any questions, just put it on the stage chat. We hope that the panel is going to be a little bit more interactive from you. So we want all of you to ask questions.
Oh.
Yeah, that's okay. If you open now, the presentation should be fine.
Okay. Let me get it. Okay. Sorry for, okay, here. Oh, sorry, it was when I clicked on the doc.
Yeah, you stopped sharing.
Okay, sorry, such a drag every time we need to do that. Okay, hopefully it's gonna start working. Okay,
no, we don't see the slides yet, Olivier.
Okay, why is that?
You have shared your whole screen, right? The full screen.
Yes.
No, we just see the hoping platform on the screen.
So let me try again. Otherwise, maybe Araceli, I've sent you the
I can share them.
presentation. Maybe it will be easier. Sorry for that.
No problem. Yes. Okay, so
Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, everyone. So I'm managing partner at Quantonation. We are a quantum investment fund, VC dedicated to quantum. Maybe Araceli, if you can get to the next slide, please. So we are at the same time raising and investing. We are targeting a 50 million raise, and so that will be the global size of the fund. And before that, we are reaching our first closing in the coming weeks, which should be above 20 million. With the money we already raised, we invested in 12 companies. In the US, in Canada, well, we'll spend just a bit of time explaining which companies later. We have seen, since we started, actually this slide should be a bit updated. Now it's more than 300 companies worldwide working in quantum. And we are also trying to be active in the ecosystem. And we co-founded a non-for-profit, which is called the Lab Quantique, and which is trying to develop the ecosystem, quantum ecosystem in France. Next one, please. Okay, so we are a team of 4 people, so 3 partners. Charles on the left is an entrepreneur and always in love with physics, so that he got the idea to do something in quantum quite early. We also have Christophe, who is our PhD and quantum physicist. Actually, he's been in the field. He did his PhD more than 20 years ago on neutral atoms. And he was working for one of the early startups in quantum, which is QCware, a few years ago. And so we decided to start this initiative together. For my side, I'm more. I have more background as a VC investor. I've majored in business and worked as a management consultant for 10 years before being in charge of investing into very early stage and tech companies, into a private holding company which belonged to Charles on the left. And we also have a 4th member of the team, Jean-Gabriel, who is associate and helping on all the transaction-related aspects. Next one, please. So, just to make it a bit clearer, what segments we are interested in. So, of course, quantum computing. We are investing both in hardware and software. We also invest in quantum cybersecurity and communication. So both on the hardware side, and I believe that one of the company we've invested in, which is KETS, will be speaking just afterwards. But also on the more classical side and software with the post-quantum encryption, where we have made an investment. In terms of sensing, that's a segment that we like pretty much because we have some companies that are much more mature and already in business, already making revenues. A good example of that is a Swiss company that's doing NV centers called QNAMI, which we have just invested in last year, and that's already posting $1.5 million revenues this year. And we are also looking at deep physics company, and what we call deep physics is very innovative companies. Not strictly quantum, but let's say they have the same kind of path for development. So it's companies that are out of research labs and with, let's say, very disruptive technologies. Next one. So our portfolio, as we said, we invested in 12 companies all over the world. So we have 4 companies in the quantum computing area. So Pascal, which is a French company, and working on quantum computing with neutral atoms. We have Quantique, the latest addition to the portfolio, which is out of Quebec, and working on very innovative technology called self-corrected qubits. So quite long term, but very promising. Orca Computing, which is a spin-off Oxford, so for this UK Switzerland, it's quite fine. Orca is doing a quantum computer based on photonics, And we also have a French company which is not working on computers, but let's say more providing tools for the people building computers, as Candela is doing some photon sourcing. They are building photon sources. So in terms of software, in Quantum, we have invested in Qubit Pharmaceutical, which is doing computer-aided drug design. They are able to do some to make their software work on classical computers, such as GPUs clusters, and they will transition to quantum once there is powerful enough computers to make their program run on it. Multiverse is software for quantum software for finance, a bit like Qubit Pharmaceutical. They are using quantum-inspired algorithm working on classical computers, and they will switch to quantum whenever it's relevant. Another company is the Quantum Benchmark, Canadian company, and they are providing software to help the hardware manufacturers such as Google, Rigetti, IBM to characterize their qubits and make it work better. Nice company as well, already making revenues. Next one. So we also invest, as I said, in quantum communications. We invested in QNect, which is a spin-off of Stony Brook University in Long Island, and they are working on building quantum repeaters for quantum networks. KETS, just a few words because you'll get to know the company a bit better afterwards when Chris will present the company. So KETS is a spin-off of Bristol University, and they are working on quantum random number generation chips and quantum key distribution, QKD. Very nice technology as well. And CryptoNext, which is post-quantum cryptography. So two out of France, two very good mathematicians that have worked in this field for a long time and that have developed very nice software for post-quantum encryption. Deep physics, so we have Lighton out of France, which is doing, let's say, AI chips. It's, let's say, co-processors using light to make computation. So that's what they call, that's what they use light propagation in order to accelerate some very precise type of calculation for AI. And then QNME is also working on out of Basel University. So they are doing nitrogen vacancy sensors in order to improve, let's say, imaging resolution and so on for atomic force microscopes. And this company is developing really fast. So in a few words, next one, I will conclude with that. If anyone, well, we are still looking for companies. In this fund, we are looking to finance at least 20 companies. So we just have 12 in portfolio, but we are looking for the next 8 ones. So what we are looking for is quantum and deep physics companies, the 4 segments I presented earlier. We really want some very strong science content in the companies because for us it's a good barrier to entry and ensure that the company will be amongst the leader. We are not shy from investing in very early stage companies. Some of the companies even we co-created with founders. So we invest early on and we try to follow on the companies up to Series A for hardware companies and Series B for software as they require a bit less cash. We are operating worldwide. As you've seen, we've made investments in North America, UK, Switzerland. We've been looking at companies in Israel, Singapore, and Australia as well. So we don't have any geographic limitations. Ticket size range from 100k euro in the case of pre-seed and very early investments to several million euros at later stage. And we are very hands-on investors. So as we know, it's not always easy for researchers to transition from PhD or postdoc or research lab to starting a company doing business development. So we try to work along the company and spend quite some time with the management team. That's it for us. So if you have any question, glad to answer them.
Perfect. Thanks, Olivier. Any questions? I think that was a really nice overview of what you are doing, guys. I think last time when I talked to you, it was probably half of all the companies where you have invested. So it's really see how you have been growing, and also again how everything is global. It's not just I'm in Europe and I focus in Europe. This is a global community, and we have seen this over and over again. So this is really, really interesting to see. Okay. So I open now again. Just don't be shy. Just ask anything that is the opportunity. You want to know more about what is going on in the different ecosystems. About the questions are coming now. Okay, so Emily said, it feels like companies in quantum sensing are struggling to raise at the moment. Perhaps because money was poured into them a few years ago, and now they have to develop their tech and actually provide their high sensitivity devices. Do you agree or disagree?
Actually, we are looking for more sensing companies because we've seen that some technologies are more mature. So if we are investing in very long-term projects such as quantum computing with a very high TRL, and usually quantum sensing tend to be closer to revenues. So in our case, we've seen companies that are already selling products, which is quite good to balance the portfolio. So we've invested in QNME, which is already in revenues. We've also we know another very nice Swiss company called MiraX, and it's also a company that's already they already have products and they already have clients. So I don't know about them. There might be some more specific technologies which are longer term, but from our experience, we've seen companies that are more mature, and so we are quite interesting in financing them. I think one of the limits of sensing may be that it's more a niche market. So from the VC perspective, you have nice companies that are the possibility to make 50 million, 100 million revenues if they succeed, and for some VCs, it's a bit, it's not enough. So that's my perspective. But we are interested.
Emily just follow up saying, how should quantum sensing companies stand out in what it seems a crowded space? I think you answered pretty well there. I guess you said it's not enough. That's the big question. Maybe I continue on that afterwards. Anyone wants to add anything else on the sensing side? Okay,
maybe one observation. But maybe Olivier, you can comment on that. So what I observe is that indeed these startups take a bit of a time to realize what the market actually is and where they're going to have an impact in sensing with their technology. And as you said, I think before both other persons, Olivier and Navja, a lot of them are academics jumping into the private sector, and then they don't have that view on the business and what is actually going to drive their business, and that might take some time for them to take up.
Maybe to complement that, some companies we've looked at have very good technologies, and for example, one of them was they were looking at navigation, sensing for navigation, and although that technology is nice, it's not as powerful right now compared to other competitive and alternative technologies. So maybe in the chat, the person said that this space is crowded, and one of the difficulties in sensing is that there are many alternatives, and one of them is even not sensing at all, which is also an opportunity. So you have to take into account what's the technology development path. Is it going to be competitive against alternative solution, and how costly is that? if you manage to find a sweet spot with all that constraint, then it's a nice one.
And probably the sweet spot is also could be quite unexpected. So that's the interesting thing. They are the front runners exploring the jungle, and they have to find their path in this jungle. And for example, IDEcontic is doing very well in random number generator because it's a byproduct of what they're doing. So I found it interesting to see where they find their sweet spot.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So we have more questions. Chris from KETS is asking, what's the next big untapped quantum tech startup area? Who wants to take this?
Well, if you know the answer, you're rich.
He should know because Chris is one of our investments, so I hope it's within our portfolio.
Okay, Natra, want to add something?
I actually wanted to sort of reformulate to Olivier and just ask like how Quantonation works to identify the next quantum trends.
Well, we are first, one of our founders is a PhD, and he spends his time looking at science papers. And that's something that's very important for us. And we spend quite some time discussing with the large hubs in university. We spend some time discussing with people in labs at Oxford, at Institut Quantique in Sherbrooke, in Institut d'Optique in France. So, and that's a big part of the job. Plus, now we also have good network with the 12 company we've invested in. We've created a Slack channel, and there are some good reactions, good discussions, and this founder, they like to introduce us to other nice potential companies or technologies. Plus, you know, there are some trends that just appear. For example, some companies we start to see a project in, let's say, NV centers, and I tend to think that the same type of ideas are born simultaneously in different places. So there will be some phases where for a few months we see a lot of this type of companies, and they each have a different angle or different type of technologies, but it's strange to see that they kind of appear at the same time. So there are topics. Now lots of things coming into transducers, for example, to put quantum computers in network. It's something that we did not see a few months ago. Now we start to see some technology and companies appearing. So I think at some point it's just a level of maturity that makes people think that there are some opportunities and they jump in, but at several places at the same time.
I need to follow up on a question there. So far we have been focused on the science, and this is really what is driving everything that we are doing, right? It's really the science that is going to be developing new kind of products. But I have been seeing in the last 6 months, 1 year, people who are coming from the business that they have all the kind of skills, and they realize that there is an opportunity. So what they want is they want to also help develop new companies. So they don't have the technical skills. So what they do is they partner, or they look for trends themselves, and then they have this idea and they bring it up. What do you think? Because mostly of the companies that we have seen, they have been spin-outs from universities. Do you think that there is an opportunity for all these business people who realize that they could also help develop the market to also create a startup, or you prefer to see people that are coming out of university and research labs?
Actually, we've seen both cases. There are some cases where the researchers fund the company, they spend 100% time for that company, and they quit the lab. We've seen some of them become very good managers, and frankly, they do it very naturally. Chris is one of them for KETS. And there are some researchers that are interested in setting up the companies. They are ready to spend 20 to 25% of their time, but they are not ready to jump in. So I mean, it's also a good opportunity to have them as a chief scientist officer or chief technical officer, and to hire someone that will go into business development or CEO, and that is not as technical or not as much a researcher. That works as well, I think.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say this because I have seen, you know, in QURECA, we help people who wants to jump into quantum, and we have seen both sides of the question as well. Is people coming from research and they want help, support on how to develop the idea, but we also saw a lot of people with 20, 30 years experience in business that they want to support to create new companies. So that's so it's good to see that the support from the investors is also there. We are going to.
Just add, I think you definitely need both. I mean, that's the thing. It's not. I mean, of course, you can have to be lucky and then to get one physicist which changing to an entrepreneur and which has this view on the business. But it takes some time to know the business, and and having business people coming in and explaining and how they see the value chain and where they see the niche and so forth and so on. That is definitely speeds up the whole transition probably.
Right.
Yeah, if I just may add a small comment, Araceli, and I think this is a very good point you raised there. And I feel like, for example, in the UK, there is a lot of technology that is being developed in the university. And there are some barriers to unlocking the potential of these technologies moving to business. And, you know, I have spoken to some researchers and they want to start pushing their solutions further to market, but they don't know where to start. They don't know if they have the right baggage on things like IP, for example. They don't know if they should just sell their technology. There is a lot of doubting because they don't have that business background, and they sort of need support to take that technology from a very early stage. And there is also some sort of support at financial level who is going to believe in that idea to become a sort of this commercial idea. So I think there is a lot of work into helping researchers find their way if they want to commercialize the research. And on the sensing point, and just because this has came up and as a crowded space, I am not sure that sensing in the quantum world, in the quantum landscape, has its praise over technologies like quantum computing. Everyone speaks about quantum computing, quantum information. However, there isn't much awareness about what quantum sensing can bring to the market and how quantum sensing is outperforming other technologies that are already existing out there for an investor to come and spend money in it.
Very good comment, Nadia. Yeah, I have to agree. I've been discussing about a new project. I don't think I can disclose it today, but it's on the sensing side, and I don't think I have heard anyone trying to imagine how these applications could be applied in all the kind of sectors. So yeah, there's a lot to be there.
Maybe to build on what Naj was saying, I mean, it's good to let people know that, let investors know that there is some potential in sensing, but it's even better if clients know it. I mean, for the company, it's better to have client money than investors' money.
Good point as well. Yeah. Malek said, what is your vision towards investing in the MENA region startups?
Well, we've seen a little bit of companies in Israel. I would say we can count it on the hand. I mean, there is some potential. There are some nice companies, but we've not seen too many of those. I mean, of course, we are looking. Geography is not an issue for us, but we just have to find good candidates.
Bruno is bringing something quite interesting here. Probably you have he shared the article about the D-wave valuation cut, but more than half. Probably you have seen this. And the panel, can you maybe comment on the D-wave's difficulties to raise financing?
Well, that's sure that we have seen some crazy valuations. I wouldn't be able to comment on this deal because I mean it's too big a deal for us. We don't come at this type of stage. I think the same same thing has come for Rigetti, which has also experienced some down valuation for its round. I don't believe it reflects that the company is in bad shape. Maybe just the valuation expectations were too high too soon, maybe for the previous round. Maybe this round is a good valuation as they managed to find investors. So it's what the market believes the company is worth. The down valuation is probably due to the fact that there was a hype in the rounds before.
This is a question from Patrick, I guess more for Francesco and Najwa. What, if anything, is unique about the European quantum community?
I let you start.
That's a very good question. I think there is a lot of, I'm not sure because I don't have enough background on what's the landscape like in other big initiatives and countries like the US and Canada or Australia, you know, and even the new coming national initiatives. But I could say that what amazed me about the EU landscape is really the great amount of collaborations. There are a lot of consortia. There are a lot of projects, and there is a lot of drive into moving science and quantum science and technology from academia to research. And there are a lot of programs which encourage that and encourage industrialization. So I think that's what really amazed me about the European quantum landscape.
I think one element maybe which is an advantage but also a disadvantage is the diversity. I mean, these are definitely different countries with different cultures and different approaches, which is on one sense difficult to scale up like you would do in the US, for example, where it's more homogeneous and scales up very fast. On the other hand, it gives the opportunity to explore diverse routes and diverse approaches. So it is in general much slower than the US if you compare to the US, and it's more fragmented than the US. But initiatives at the European level tend to be on a much longer stable basis. So if Europe starts investing, and then it might go slower, but it's stable. It's much more stable on the long term, and it's not going to be cut because that's the new government decides now to cut the funding for, I don't know, defense, and then the whole program is buried because then just for some budget cuts.
Maybe one interesting thing as well is that we have in Europe large corporates that are not shy to try these new technologies. People like Airbus, Bosch, BASF, even the large banks. I mean, they are all quite open to working with startups and to open collaboration, proof of concept. And so that I think that's a good point for startups because it helps them check whether their idea or their product is relevant for a client.
Yeah, I cannot be more agree. I agree with all the answers. Another question, I guess for Olivier, what are your expectations regarding exits, given that we are still in the early phase?
Well, there are some. First, we don't invest in a company because we believe it will get purchased by someone. We invest in a company because we believe it will be able to find its market and to sell its product and be profitable. But as we see it, actually there are some companies that already have received offers from large corporates because their technology is quite unique and can be very valuable for some corporates. So we anticipate that there will be some acquisition by large companies, and then for early stage investors like us, what's important is that a later stage market develops. People coming into Series B, Series C, and that will be able to provide exit for the early investors. And so far, well, It's a bit early to say, but we have seen some companies going into Series A, and there are some generalist tech fund coming into quantum, and it used not to be it was not the case before. So now we are seeing some sizable rounds happening in Europe with generalist fund. So I mean that makes us quite optimistic that we'll be able to find some exit. The company is good in a few years.
Mm-hmm. Now one question, very interesting for me, from Max. How do you see quantum tech talent development to support the growth of the sector?
I mean, this is going to be an issue, actually. If you speak last month when I was at where we were doing the Quantum Industry Day, we were doing this in Zurich, where Zurich Instrument has his company, and they are having actually difficulty hiring people. So we see already that, and this is why we have all these initiatives on having the upskilling and of the old generation, and also having the young generation to be ready to jump on those positions. Now the question is, will we have enough people to feed the industry? I don't know how you see that, but it's interesting to see at the Quantum Industry Today. We also use it as a kind of mixing up people coming out of the master program from the ETH Zurich in quantum technologies, and the companies are jumping on them. They don't have time to finish because they are hired before they finish their career. Yeah.
Well, if we take all the pitch deck of the companies that we see, and that are today from 3 to 4 people that want to scale up to 25, and frankly, that just won't be enough people. So yeah, you're right to say, Francesco, that it's a big issue. Plus, I mean, it's not only the European companies, but American companies will have the same issue. So it will be and we've already seen some candidates go to North American companies, or so it's a global market because there's few talents, and companies are right away international. So it will be interesting, but people who manage to attract and retain the best talent will have a better shot than the others.
Nachbar, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. I just wanted to say that in quantum, there are a lot of disciplines that are sought for, a lot of skills that are needed. Whether it's material science, electronics, mathematics, computer science, thin film processing, quantum physics. So it's not narrow, and I think everyone could find a place in this landscape, and everyone can engage, and especially young graduates can engage with quantum from different sides and from different perspectives. It's not limited to people with a quantum background, and there is a lot of need for engineers specifically in quantum, but also people with business background and business knowledge. So it's a sort of just sweet spot between all these skills, between the technical skills and the business background, and the sort of global vision of what can quantum bring as a solution rather than a technology.
You know that this is one of the services that we offer at QURECA, and we have seen also how this has developed in the last year. It's like 1 year ago, I was talking to companies, and the answer was like, we can handle our hiring. And after 1 year, they said, we need support. We need support because we cannot find the right candidates. So we are trying our best. So if there is any company looking for hiring, we have a pool of candidates all over the world looking for this chance. So yeah, it's the two sides of the question. Again, it's about the individuals looking for the right fit, and for companies looking to hire. Okay, I think this has been really, really interesting. We are almost up to time, but I guess before we close, I let each of you for 30 seconds, 1 minute, to give any kind of advice either on ideas, the landscape, the funding. I know that in UK there is a lot of public funding opportunities for companies, so probably some of them will wonder if they can apply if they are not in the UK, for example. So any kind of advice, I'll let you 1 minute for you to shine. So Francesco, you want to start?
Yeah, so I will just repeat what Zadik Ficovic of the CEO of Zurich Instruments said 1 month ago. I mean, quantum, we might get in a quantum winter or whatever, but quantum is here to stay. So and it's a long-term journey. So be patient, keep trying, and yeah, and have a look at it, because it's going to be very, very interesting in the coming decade.
Okay, Nacho?
Yeah, I would just direct my message to all researchers or people at universities who are working very hard on making some amazing science, that this science is useful for someone. So just don't be scared to go and talk more about it to the public and to investors, so people can be aware about what you're doing. I think that's my advice.
Thanks. Olivier?
Yeah, well, my advice would be take your time, because as you say, we are in for the long run, and that there's a bit of, let's say, a bubble where people think I have to do something in quantum now because the money is here now and valuations are big now. Well, as Francesco said, it may not be there forever, but if you build a good company and take your time doing step after step things in the right order, then of course you will always find the money at the right valuation. So you have to think your project through, understand well what can be your technological roadmap, who your product will be useful for, and this is not something that you can just think overnight. It's something that it's a process. It takes weeks, months. So don't hesitate to reflect and take your time before jumping in.
Perfect. 3 powerful messages. Thank you so much for the panel. Thank you, Francesco, Natha, and Olivier. I hope that you can stay for the pitches, that you can ask any questions to our panelists. And yeah, thank you so much. And enjoy the rest of the day. And don't forget to enjoy the networking session.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Now I invite Patrick, who is the co-organizer of the session, and he's gonna be the moderator for the pitches. Hi, Patrick.
Hi.
Perfect. So let's call Chris.
So who have we got on first? Let's see. Chris.
Yeah. Chris, you can join whenever you're ready. Okay. Hi, Chris.
Hey.
Can we hear you? Can you? Yeah.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
All good. Perfect. Okay. Ready whenever you are. Patrick, you are the moderator now.
Okay. So just a reminder, use the chat, please, for any questions. We're going to be very strict on the 10 minutes. Chris, I'll give you a 1 minute warning, okay?
Everybody sees the slides now?
All good.
Cool. Oops. Okay. Hi, my name is Chris Erven. I'm the CEO and co-founder of KETS Quantum Security. So at KETS, we're combining the power of quantum technologies to solve some of the most important security challenges on the planet. We just heard a bunch of talk about how strong quantum computing is coming on now. And at KETS, what we've figured out how to do is to miniaturize quantum-safe hardware into a size, a form factor, and crucially at a price point that now makes it commercially interesting to telecommunications providers, to data centers, to defense and space, to name just 3. And to set it up, I mean, we now live hyper-connected lives. I really want everybody to stop and think for just a second about how much key information you have stored in the cloud. Likely many of the notes you're taking right now on the next hottest investments. What about all that personal and banking information stored in those myriad of sites you've signed up to. I mean, it can be as simple as your contact book. How many of you actually know your mom's mobile phone number anymore? And if we think beyond ourselves, this is what we're focused on at KETS. This is sort of the 5G world and beyond. And if you talk to people building this world about its security, you'll likely get one of two answers. The first one, either it's done because they use the latest industry standard techniques for security, or it's someone else's problem. But it's absolutely not done, as those industry standard techniques are rapidly approaching their end of shelf life. I saw a couple of questions in the chat exactly about this. Increasingly sophisticated cyber attacks with machine learning, artificial intelligence, and most importantly, quantum computing are coming. And it's no longer something that's sort of 50 years off. Quantum computing has been progressing in leaps and bounds in just a few short years, and it will rip our current information security to shreds. And maybe the worst part of all is we likely won't even know it when someone's reached a large-scale quantum computer, because it represents such a large advantage that they'll keep it secret. And as for it being someone else's problem, well, at KETS, we've decided that this one is our problem to solve. Our vision is to build the world's first complete quantum-safe solutions provider, and we've taken it as our mission to protect the world's most valuable resource, which is information now, from the threat of quantum computing. To deliver this in the secure 5G world, we're focused on three key sectors that are crucial early in the quantum safe rollout. Telecoms providers, now backed by government infrastructure initiatives in almost every major country, are going to provide the critical arteries along which our sensitive information flows, and they must be upgraded to become quantum safe, to provide these sort of core backbone networks from which we can hang other applications on top of. And unsurprisingly, this market is estimated to be worth something like $2.4 billion by 2029. Defense and space is the next largest market. It's expected to be worth something like $1.3 billion by 2029. Defense companies are actively securing battlefield and future government communications from the threat of quantum computers. And many are already exploring how to enable space-based quantum-safe communications in order to enable a global secure communication system. And then finally, applications and data centers. I mean, they're currently projected by a third party to be worth about $180 million by 2029. But our own customer conversations have led us to believe that this is woefully underestimated, but at least an order of magnitude. Data centers really are a Pandora's box of use cases once you open that lid. From something as simple as improving the quality of entropy sources in each and every server by installing one of our quantum random number generators, to performing backups in a quantum safe way with quantum key distribution. And there's just many other use cases. And if we take just that government and telcos market right now, worth again an estimated $2.4 billion, this has become a national priority of every major government on the world. And it was kickstarted here in the UK by the Quantum Communications Hub, from which KETS emerged, and we're now a proud industrial partner. China was also into the act early. They completed a 2,000-kilometer quantum key distribution trunk backbone between Beijing and Shanghai in 2017. And they've been progressing in leaps and bounds, demonstrating space-based quantum encryption technology. Japan is now building a quantum crypto network, and so is the US. And Francesca was saying this, closer to home, you've got the EU Quantum Communications Infrastructure Initiative, which is building a quantum secure communication network shield across the EU that will protect the EU economy and society from cyber threats. It has a full budget that approaches something like 2 billion euros over roughly the next 7 or 8 years. And we're estimating that the hardware contracts alone for just the first phase are going to be worth upwards of something like $33 million. And here at KETS, we're targeting a very modest third of that market share. And we're well on our way, as KETS is being specifically proposed by people like Thales Alenia Space and Orange to join some of these QCI pilot projects, specifically because of our chip-based approach and the potential to provide a sovereign solution. We've also begun some larger conversations with the EU Commission about the QCI project itself. But what's it going to take to get there? Again, if you take just the telecoms market, KETS has already completed the development of our first product, quantum demo kits. This is what people want to start playing with in their labs. And it utilizes our cutting-edge integrated quantum photonic chips. These chips are a fraction of the size of your thumbnail and has obvious advantages in sort of low size, weight, and power, and easy integration. Our QRNG demo chip kit was ready in January of this year, while our QKD demo kit was slightly delayed from this wonderful pandemic, but we're now expecting it in Q4 of this year. And we continued to, whoops, skipped one too far. We're going to continue to evolve these in our roadmap to provide quantum add-on cards with specific functionality, as well as software to allow easy integration into existing networks. And then it starts to get really interesting as you really start to think through what's coming, as we provide fuller suites of quantum-safe crypto functionality on single tamper-proof cards that easily slot into secure enclosures. And you look at key management systems, quantum-safe networking orchestration software that gets us into recurring revenue, and all those other pieces that are going to be needed in the quantum internet of the future. And we already have traction with some of the key players in this marketplace. So Thales is a key route to market in the telecoms industry. They provide by far the majority of the equipment in the form of hardware security modules and high-speed encryptors and other solutions. And like every other solutions provider right now, they're currently working on a refresh of the product line to make it quantum safe. And they're working with KETS to do it. And then you've also got BT, who's perhaps been one of the most forward-thinking quantum-safe telecoms providers in the world since the early 90s. That's when they started exploring quantum encryption technology. Finally now, though, with an integrated chip-based approach, they recognize that it's being developed in a form factor and at a price point to be financially viable. So at KETS, we're currently seeking a Series A fundraise of about £6 million to deliver on three things. The first is 3 to 4 major trials with customers and end users that we're currently negotiating. The second is the continued evolution and customization of our products according to what the customer and market needs. And the third is production scale up, getting from the tens of devices we make now to the millions of devices that are going to be needed in the future. We have our lead investor. We're into DD with a few. But I want to thank you very much for your time and attention during this pitch. If this is an opportunity of interest for investment for you, please type some questions into the box and get in touch after the event. So thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Chris. That was a great start for this session. Are there any questions? I'm watching. Please do type them in. A question from my side. So there you talked about scaling up from tens to the millions. Where would those be produced? Would you produce them? Would you have contractors lined up? How do you see that in terms of supply chain?
Yeah, I didn't focus too much on the tech because it's meant to be a commercial opportunity. But the beauty of the technology, I should have put a chip picture in there at least, is it's we've figured out, we spun out of a group that pioneered integrated quantum photonics. And they didn't try it with exotic materials, having to put another 2 billion euros like Intel did to develop microchips. They've used what's there. So it's all CMOS compatible. Basically, it's not so far off from control C to control V. To once you need 10 chips per 10 million, you just have a bigger order. These are standard fab facilities. We're sort of fabless. We don't do this in-house. We don't have to do this in-house. And we just need to put in a bigger order. Now there's some engineering as well in terms of putting together the PCBs and everything else. But we're figuring that out as we go. Series A is about sort of scaling to 40,000 units, or so, tens of thousands of units. That brings down sort of a chip cost from anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 to about $10 a chip. But we're also in parallel putting in place the framework that we can scale to the millions of devices that are soon going to be needed. So, sorry, long-winded answer, but the beauty of it is a chip-based approach, standard techniques. I just put in a larger order to some extent when we need more devices.
All right, thank you. So questions come in. Beyond telco, which market do you intend to?
They're very related, but I think it's data centers. Space and defense as well. They've got some early on projects. If you actually look at the dynamics of those markets. Usually you get some really good projects early on, expensive ones and then there's usually a bit of a lag because they still aren't usually using cutting edge stuff. They wait for it to be certified and stuff. So they're a great way to get started. One of our first projects was with Airbus in a defense related application. The next big market is data centers. It's where, I mean, whole banks, I think it's one of the Credit Suisse moved to a Dell data center, everything. All of our banking information. And for the time being, my bank account is safe because it has so little dollars in it. But that's changing when people start to be able to sort of attack these things in concert because everything's sitting in one place in a data center. So it's just a Pandora's box. Happy to take it offline and chat. But there's simple ways. I mean, a data center is essentially 100,000 servers, each spinning up, 1,000 virtual machines every day. And each needs to be populated with good encryption keys. And our quantum random number generators can provide the best randomness possible to fill in those keys. So a really simple example, dead simple, but really useful, is put a QRNG card in every server. So that's something like 100,000 servers per data center. And they can populate their keys from those cards. And then you start looking into it, and it's a Pandora's box of other applications. But that's where all our valuable information now resides. So we want to tackle that.
Okay, I've got another question come in, but I think I'm going to switch across to the next speaker. Thank you very much. I hope you can connect with the two other questions.
Alain, you can send a private message and I'll answer. I'll try and answer it in the chat. Thanks very much.
Super, thank you. Okay, so next up we should have Rafael from Quantum South.
Yeah, Rafael was trying to join, so I hope that it works. Rafael, you need to click to join the stage. Rafael. It's connected to the event. I can see it. So I guess he has some difficulties to join the panel. Maybe we can switch, Patrick. If Rafael has some difficulties, we can call Jose.
Okay.
Jose, if you can join as well, maybe we can just switch the order. We just need one of you to join the stage. Rafael, Jose, can you join the backstage, please? Rafael, I don't see you trying to enter the backstage.
Have you got the right link?
Not sure. Rafael, you need to go to the backstage. It's the other link that I sent you. Okay, this is the difficulties of having everything live. Okay. Martin should send you the link, Rafael, that you can join the backstage. Okay, at least someone is here, Max. Okay, let's go with it. Let's go. Thanks, Max.
Right. So just before I go, do you hear me? Right?
Yes, we're good.
Excellent. So should I share my screen and check that it works?
Let's go with that. Okay, we go. Right, you've got 10 minutes from now.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much for having me today, and I would like to say a few words about AegiQ. So that's by the way, I'm Max. I'm the CEO and co-founder of AegiQ, and we're on a mission to securing global communications with quantum light. Now, I would like to thank Chris for an excellent introduction onto the threats that we, and actually the panel before we had on the threats that we're currently facing was the invent of quantum computers. And actually the first thing that ever happened to be useful for quantum computers was the one that's it's going to be breaking all our existing encryption and pretty much destroy the existing cryptography infrastructure. And as we know, that's a big challenge, and people are very much aware of this threat, but also the time it takes to get things done. So to compare, for example, to migrate the infrastructure for, well, existing infrastructure for encryption back in the 90s, at the dawn of internet, it took 15 years to do that until we got our existing systems in place. So, everything that has any level of sensitivity, people are already concerned about it, and they're already making steps in order to secure. And we know there's plenty of programs in place to build the first trials, to do things in order to secure the infrastructure. And so how do we come with this? And our approach to that is to use quantum light to build these to build the quantum safe communications. And that comes from our own research, which took decades of work, and it's a semiconductor technology which is patented. And our approach to that is to also make it really cost efficient and to work in all environments, challenging environments. But above all, it's about bringing the ultimate security and the highest speed, so that it's not just something that works in principle and transmits data, but it's something that can serve as the backbone, something that can take all the data load that's out there and can take more load in the future, and it will be completely future-proof. And in this sense, this is slightly technical, but nevertheless, less is more. So at the core of what we do are single deterministic photons. And so single photons, identical photons, are really important to building the truly quantum applications, the truly quantum internet. So firstly, our patented technology has much higher performance than anything else on the market. It's higher rep rate, it's higher bandwidth, and on top of that, we can shred all the things like decoy states, for example, which reduce security, in fact, of the communication, and it's enabling the truly long-range applications. Moreover, with this type of technology, we can build multi-particle entanglement, which means we can connect quantum computing nodes, we can build and interface different quantum devices in between them, and that's building the truly quantum internet of the future, something that's overarching around everything. At the core of that sits that single photon technology, the single particle, single qubit, which is what we have. And we also, less is more still applies there. It still needs to be small, it needs to be compact, it needs to be easy to use, and this is what we do. I mean, it's a semiconductor chip, it's easy to make, it's scalable, goes in the packaging, goes in the standard, rack units, it goes in standard units for satellites, and above all, it has the proven performance, which we've demonstrated with our past research. So our approach to that is building a full stack, and it's also platform agnostic. So, it can work, the quantum capsule as we see it, it can work with satellites, it can work with fiber optic, it can work with a lot of other devices. And it's about enabling them the full performance. It's about unlocking the true quality of the quantum, and it's uptime. It's truly metropolitan networks. And that's the key that we have here. And our vision is that we'll develop into the Cisco of the quantum tech, and we start with low volume. There's really interesting projects. Some of that is still R&D, but we're moving on to the global networks, and the opportunity there is immense. So we're talking about thousands of communication satellites which are on orbit, and there's 7 million data centers globally, and each of those has thousands of devices installed on them. And we're not talking about like 5G networks and so on. So, and this is all where we'll have our devices sitting at the heart of those. And insofar, we've already achieved excellent traction. So we're working with key satellite and telco operators. So, we're building our strategic relationships. We're actually building prototypes now. And that's also with support of the government. So we've been very successful in quite a challenging calls in the UK. And that really enables us to de-risk the technology and bring the first products pretty soon. And on top of that, we do see the challenges and we're tackling them head on, and that's about building scalable and resilient supply chain. So we're working with key foundries on enabling scalable manufacture, on enabling photonic integration on a large scale, and that's all happening already now today. So a little bit story about us to kind of closer to the wrap up. So as I said, this is where the top class science really meets the commercial and engineering team. So the background to that is many years of research, and Maurice, who's one of our co-founders, started it many years ago, and then we started building our team last year. We've been just gaining momentum from the start, getting more and more. And so right now we have actually a team of 4 full-time people, and is expanding the team. And to summarize, we're raising the seed round. We have the lead, and the purpose of this round is to deliver our first beta system, is to secure additional government funding to further de-risk and bring more customers into our pool, assemble our core team, and achieve significant growth by the end of next year. And at this, I would like to thank you for your attention. Certainly welcome to get in touch.
Thanks, Maksym. That's been very crisp and on time. So I appreciate that. Again, a call for questions for Maksym and his startup. So you're raising money now.
That's correct.
Can you communicate how much you're looking for? What's the?
I think we're open to how we structure the deal. So we have target projects which need to be financed, and we're looking towards different makeups. But this is a typical seed round in the quantum tech. So nothing overly. But I would be happy to discuss that in private.
Okay. And the projects you have, the public funding you have, that's 1.4 million is very impressive. What duration are those projects? Are those?
Could you repeat the thing you just broke up?
How the public funding support you've secured, over what period of time are those projects? Are those short projects?
So they're all 3-year projects. So some of them we've started actually last year, and that's due to be completed next year. And some of them we started this year, so they kicked off July and September time. So that's another 3 years we're on delivering our prototyping and actually working with the customers.
Great, thank you. I've had a couple of questions come in. Are you involved in concrete projects in satellite communications?
Yes. I cannot disclose the names in public, unfortunately, because that's still under confidentiality, but the answer is definitely yes.
Okay. What are your single photon source rep rates? Have you packaged devices rate yet?
So we go up to 10 gigahertz. So that's the it's the 10 times anything else that you can potentially get out at the market at the moment. And on top of that, we have the widest wavelength range, so we can address different materials and different channels. So we go all the way from green light all into the near infrared and telecom wavelengths, which is particularly suitable for obviously fibers, but it's also some great frequency ranges to do the satellite comms.
Are these packaged yet, or are you still working?
Well, they are packaged, yes.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, if there are no further questions, thank you again, Maksym.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to more conversations later on today.
Certainly. Let's see that happen. Okay, so now we'll switch over to Rafael. We finally got into the room, into the backstage. Welcome.
Hello.
Okay, we see you.
Good morning. Thank you. Glad to know that. I want to thank you much for joining earlier. Thank you very much. Shall I start?
Yes, the clock is ticking. You have 10 minutes.
Okay. So I am Rafael Sotelo, co-founder of Quantum South. We are a company which develops solutions in the quantum computing area. We focus on cargo load optimization to offer efficient operations to our customers. We want to thank Araceli for the invitation for this Quantum Investor Day. So we started our journey last year. We set up a multidisciplinary team around the University of Montevideo to work in the Airbus Quantum Computing Challenge, which has been held last year. So it was, we are a team with professors, students, and also professionals from the industry with experience in global consultancy services and global businesses. So we work on problem number 5, which is precisely aircraft loading optimization, and made a submission by the end of the year. And guess what? Last month, now it's 1 month ago, we got the news that we are one of the finalists, and the jury, which is a very prestigious jury, said about our proposal that it was impressive and with high potential. So we are very confident what the future offers to us in the near future. We have a solid team regarding the technical aspects, but also we have a solid team regarding businesses. So we start wondering, well, where can we work with this? Is there a business opportunity? And we start digging into the market. Well, this is a graph from IATA, which is the International Air Traffic Association. And IATA, well, the reports that the air cargo traffic market is $1 billion a year, $1,000 million a year, and it is forecast to grow. IATA also reports that the load factor for freight is just 50%. It's this black graph to the right axis, and this compared to the passenger load factor that is at the left axis is more than 80%. So we find that there is room there to improve the cargo load factor, and we make some estimations that this could bring enormous and billionaire opportunities for us. So how it's being done today, this task of cargo load optimization with conventional computers, with a lot of restriction, with limited time, and done through software optimization, through best practices and limited space linear programming. We at Quantum South, we work with complex optimizations problems for cargo in airlines and ships, leveraging quantum computing software. We respect the same restrictions, the same limited time, but the software optimization through best practices, but we extend the space of linear programming. So our goal is to achieve better results than conventional solutions available today by exploring the whole space of solutions that each problem has. And we want to help companies to improve revenues and reduce costs. So now we are focusing on airline cargo, but we have found that maritime cargo is a similar problem, but even larger. So with larger problem from the point of view of the technique, because there are more and more containers, thousands of containers compared to tens of containers in an airplane, and much larger in revenues a year. But technically, they are similar problems. Financial services, we are also exploring that business through portfolio optimization, because it is also technically are similar problems. And in all of them, we are approaching final clients to know about their needs. So we are developing a software product which shall be integrated to legacy systems that, based on cargo to be dispatched in an aircraft or ship with limited capacity, will provide the best allocation based on cost and revenue restrictions. The core optimization algorithms are based on quantum computing technology. And we are the only company, as far as we know, that work in quantum computing optimization that is focused on cargo. The closest competitors are generalists in quantum optimization. So we want to bring this value to our clients to increase load factor and cargo yield, reduce assets utilization by optimizing fleet usage according to the demand. In the operational aspects, the process automation through new optimization. We want to allow them to less leverage on skilled headcount. Well, this is our roadmap for the next years. As we all know, quantum computers that can address real problems are not available right now, but are forecasted to be ready in 3 years. So in the next 3 years, we want for each of our lines, business lines, to concentrate on the product development. We are making consultancy for final clients in all these areas, and we want to develop proof of concepts and pilots. After these 3 years, well, our product will be delivered through software licensing or offering as software as a service. Well, to summarize, we have been established in last year, and it's Quantum South is a quantum computing software with operations in Europe and Latin America. This year, we have been accelerated at the European Startup Accelerator IoT Tribe. We are a spin-off of University of Montevideo, which is a member of Microsoft Quantum Network. as a university research and curriculum partner. This is one of 20 in the world. We provide consultancy and build tools for quantum technologies with long-term impact. And we work on many technologies, such as Microsoft Quantum Katas, IBM Q, Amazon Web Services Bracket, Cambridge Quantum Computing Ticket, and with D-Wave. And we're in contact with other major quantum computing technology providers. This is part of our team. Said we are not only academics and technicians, but also people with experience in servicing global markets. We have a great network in academia and business sectors. And that's all. We are looking for investment partners to bring the advantage of quantum computing to logistics in the next 3 years. Thank you for your attention. I'm here for questions.
Impeccable timing. So again, I call out for questions in the chat. One question from my side. So you focused there on airline and talked there about maritime. Have you seen any change in the conversation over the past year as the coronavirus crisis has changed traffic and the airline industry? Is there more demand or the same?
Yes. As a matter of fact, since passenger traffic has diminished, airlines are adapting their airplanes to make more and more traffic. So it is increasing, and we are in contact with some cargo companies in Asia, but also in Europe, and we are together with them developing solutions to adapt to their needs.
So the need is still very much there.
Excuse me, the need is very much?
Very much present. The need has not gone away.
No, it is increasing. Yes, because they are finding new opportunities to keep their airplanes flying. So while passenger is dropping, they retire they take out the seats and they use for cargo.
Yep, okay.
Yes, that is it. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much again, and we'll leave it there. Please don't forget to contact Rafael during the break. Thank you.